What if you were intelligent, but you were unable to communicate? Welcome to I Read This Book with Chris. I am Chris. And this is a book. This is the book that I read. Planet of the Apes. This version came out after the movie. Oh, you've had some cool stills from the 1968 movie in there. And while discussing this book, I will be drinking. It's Draftworks. It's their hazy IPA. Planet of the Apes. When I first picked this up, I thought this was a novelization. It is not. Planet of the Apes was a book first, then turned into a movie. So this book by Pierre Boulle, and I was very pleasantly surprised by this book. You probably know the basic premise of the book from watching the movie, but they are not the same. The book starts off with two people flying through space, and they see a glass bottle floating through space, and noticing that, they go and they pick it up, and they realize it's a message in the bottle. This message is from a man called Ulysses, and Ulysses, it's not Ulysses, it's missing the last S. Sure, it's a French name, Ulysses. And in the whole message is him telling his story. He left Earth with two men. He was a journalist, and he left with a biologist and the professor on one of the first intergalactic ships. They wanted to travel to Betelgeuse, so they travel, which is a long ways away. But thanks to relativity, even though it would take a long time on Earth, they were able to fly there in not a whole lot of time, 2 years subjective. Once they get to Betelgeuse, they find a planet that appears like it might be civilized, and as they approach, they see that it definitely is inhabited. They fly down to leaving their main ship in orbit, so in their lander, and they fly over and they see cities, and they land in an uninhabited spot in a jungle. And as they leave their ship, they realize the planet is safe to breathe the air on, and they start wandering around trying to explore, see what's going on. And they find this waterfall going into a little pond or lake of some sort, and they meet a woman. She is naked and nervous about them showing up. But since they came and it was hot and gross, and they decided, hey, let's cool off. They haven't been in water since they left Earth years ago. They've cleaned themselves, but they haven't swam. Well, we're gonna hop in the water anyway. So they all hopped in the water naked, and eventually this allowed this woman to approach. So they went and they made some sort of contact, and they realized there's something off about her. Her eyes do not appear right. Doesn't look as if there's anything behind them. No soul or intelligence or whatever is there when looking into the eyes of a human, they don't see. Which they find a little weird and disconcerting. And they leave, and they come back the next day. And as they come back the next day, she's brought her whole crew along. So they all hop in the water, and they start, saying, oh, look, maybe we'll be able to make connections with all these people. But they get a little worried. Why are these people not talking? Why don't they like direct eye contact? Why does it look like there's nothing in their eyes? And as they try to reapproach their lander, they are they dress and they try to reapproach their lander, and these humans go and attack and rip all their clothes off them, take all of their tools that they had and break them into little pieces. They do not like it at all. At which point, once our three Earthlings are naked, they're like, okay, you're coming with us. They, this tribe of humans bring them back. Alrighty, this is where we all live. And then they just like, alrighty, we don't care about you anymore. But this is where you belong. You don't need clothes on you. You don't need any of these weird tools. You just come here and do as we do, I guess. They sleep the night. In the morning, they wake up and something's wrong. A lot of the humans are freaking out and are running. And they realize they are getting hunted. They hear gunshots. They run away as best they can. And Ulysses' travel companion, the biologist, the plant expert, is shot down, which gives Ulysses time to escape the gunshots. However, he is later caught in a net, at which point he is rounded up with a bunch of other humans. They see all of the ones that were shot laid out, as people do after they go on a hunting trip. But these are scores of people, and they're humans, and they're naked, and he does not feel good about this, obviously, and he's trapped in a cage with a bunch of humans that don't talk. The people who are shooting at them were gorillas, and all these people now are gorillas, and he realizes, well, he realized as he was getting shot at during the hunt, but now recognizes that these gorillas wearing clothes, driving cars, putting humans in cages. This is not, something here is weird. And then throughout the book, we see him, he is brought to a lab, and experiments are done on him and the other humans. There are orangutans, chimpanzees, and gorillas, who all have a slightly different place in society. It takes him several months, but he is able to communicate, learns how to speak the ape language with the help of one of the scientists there, who recognizes how smart he is after he draws out the example of the Pythagorean theorem. We learn about all the horrible experiments these apes are doing on humans. He does not like it, obviously, but at some point, after learning to communicate, he proves to everyone, hey, I am intelligent, I deserve to be free. They free him, but a woman who was put into a cage with him, and he was basically forced to have relations with, became pregnant, and a whole hullabaloo happened because they don't know whether or not this human is going to be able to speak or not, is going to be intelligent or not. And him and this scientist, chimpanzee, figure out a way to sneak him, and he later ends up calling her his wife and his child onto a spaceship, because they were gonna, they had recently sent the first satellite to space with a human. So they're like, well, because humans are, like we sent monkeys up. We sent dogs and monkeys up. So why don't we send, so they sent humans. So he's like, well, instead of sending them, we'll send, our young family, at which point they make it back to his ship and are able to run back to Earth. After a couple years of, traveling there and back, he gets to Earth, flies in, he lands, he's confused why everything looks so similar, only to realize Earth is now controlled by apes. That's the story. So the plot is not that surprising if you've seen the movies or heard about the movies. I believe in one of the movies, you get a shot to realize that the planet he lands on was actually Earth all along. You see like the Statue of Liberty. So there is that little bit of a difference. Generally, what if we humans got to a planet where humans were as the place of monkeys, and monkeys were humans? The smart creature that ruled the earth. It is a little scary of a thought. If you believe in evolution could have gone differently, and we could be non-intelligent, and the monkeys could have been the ones who gained their intelligence, who then figured out, decided to do science experiments on us. There is a little more to it, but the main thing I got out of this is, if you are a vegan, this is a book you should read and figure out a way to communicate like it. I have for a long time thought most animal science experiments are pretty bad, especially where they end up killing them, especially creatures like monkeys that are intelligent. It does not show a pretty side. What if you were intelligent, but you were unable to communicate with the people doing experiments on you? That would be a terrifying thought. And yes, he gets out of it, but then he still sees other humans being experimented on. Right before he leaves, one of the last things he sees is there are some humans that have been given the ability to speak through brain surgery. One of them just repeats sweet nothings, things that it's overheard. And the other one has some sort of racial consciousness, some ancestry consciousness, not very well explained, but basically tells a sort of a story of the last humans when the monkeys took over. And we learned that the humans had monkeys in doing experiments. They had monkeys in zoos. They had monkeys as butlers and maids and servants helping them. And at one point, they learned to talk. And once they learned to talk, they banded together, taught each other how to talk, and then took over. And the humans just let it happen. They just got scared. And they ran away. And we're too weak to deal. If we don't have our technology and bigger numbers, how can we deal with a gorilla who is, 3-4 times our size? And so they got scared and they did nothing. So they reverted back to an animal state. Humans did, as the gorillas. It is a little scary, a little worrying. It's a good book. It's a lot more thoughtful than I remember the movies being, especially the more recent ones. If you see it, I would pick it up. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say else.